what inspired you to get into coaching, and how did that journey lead you to CCC?
Yeah, I think that coaching is a calling. I think that as a high school guy, when I came up in West Virginia, I was really, inspired by my coaches. I mean, whether it be my junior high coach and Harvey Arms, or my high school coach and Tootie Carter and Chuck Poston and Denny Miller, just a lot of guys that sort of invested me as a young man. Then when I went to college, played at the University of Miami and had the opportunity to play for two individuals. All of our coaches were great, but two that stuck out was our O-line coach and Art Kehoe. And then my special teams coordinator my last couple of years there was a guy named Donnie Solinger, who was a high school head coach at Southridge High School, and just the energy and passion that they had for the game. I knew playing at Miami, my playing days were very limited, but I just love the game. I love what it does for kids. I mean, I'm just a coal miner's son from West Virginia that just had the opportunity to, go to Miami and experience some things. And I think that the reason I coach is because I want to try to provide those same opportunities for people who may not otherwise, be afforded those. So that's sort of why I got into coaching.
Well, Coach, if anything, the way that you coach was the way that you play. I know you do a hell of an athlete, and Coach, you do an excellent job. I've been watching you from afar and up close for several years, and I really appreciate the job that you're doing here. And I know the kids, parents, and the whole community does the same. How would you describe your coaching philosophy?
I think, I would probably be considered a little bit old school. I think that, there's this idea of a player's coach. I don't think that I would be considered a player's coach. I think that I'm a guy that, is just sort of work oriented. I was definitely an overachiever, and I sort of look for those types of kids. And then if you get a kid that's a talented kid that also likes to work, then that's really a recipe for success. That's the type of success that we've had. I mean, we've had very talented players. I'm not going to sit here and say that we haven't, but for the most part, our teams have been led by hardworking, blue collar, lunch pail type kids. And that's sort of my coaching philosophy. I think you get out of it what you put into it. And our guys, I mean, if you've been here today for a Monday workout after a week off, and you see, the type of investment that our kids have, and that's my philosophy. I think that nothing's given, everything is earned. And in our program, I really do believe that the success we've had, which is, we've been blessed to have some great success over here. It's not by accident. It's not by some miraculous coaching job that I've done. It's just by, a bunch of guys that sort of buy into work, and they've been able to see the results, and we continue to hope to get better every day.
Yeah, what do you look for in a player on and off the football field?
Well, I think the most important ingredient of a player on the field is how he carries himself off the field. We aren't your typical football school. We're an IB school. We're highly academic. The disciplinary demands of our school are very high. And, to be honest with you, there are some kids that come to our school that takes an early taxing on. But I mean, I tell the parents of kids, I told a parent yesterday of a kid that's just now starting with us, that he's probably not going to like me or our processes all the time. But I promise you, if he buys into it, eventually he'll reap what he sows. And that's sort of what I'm looking for. It's not I don't look for cookie cutter kids. I think that when you look for cookie cutter, you can never find enough. What I mean by that is, if you're just looking for the guy that just shows up exactly the way he's supposed to be and does things exactly the way they're supposed to be done, you're going to be looking and you're not going to find many. But if you take a kid that there's just a look about them, there's a feel about them, the way that they, approach the first time you meet them, you can tell whether or not they're going to be able to give what it takes to be able to do what we ask them to do here.
So, Coach, going into the spring, what were some of your concerns, or what were things that you saw that you said, man, I really like that, or I can improve in based on what you were going to do this summer and going into the fall?
Well, I think that the biggest thing about not just the spring, I mean, we are a year-round program. We talk about the 4 quarters of our program, the first quarter being our winter conditioning. We have a lot of kids that play other sports. So, we went through the spring with 41, 42 bodies. We had 12, 15 kids that were playing basketball, that were running track, that were wrestling, and we encourage all that. So the winter program is about seeing, the guys that aren't playing other sports, can we get them bigger, stronger, faster? Can we get them acclimated to how we do things? The guys that are playing sports, what kind of effort do they show to be able to give us a little bit of their time here and there? Second quarter of our program is spring ball. Spring ball was huge for us this year because We lost 17 seniors. We lost 17 seniors and won 55 football games. I mean, when you have seniors that have had that much success, played in 3 straight state championship games, everybody talks about losing Shawnee Newton, and Shawnee Newton is a big loss, but there were 16 other players. Now, when usually a team that has 17 seniors, half of them don't contribute. 17 seniors, everybody, all of those seniors were key components of what we were able to do. Exactly. You know what I mean? Now, we returned quite a bit because we try to stay as 2 platoon as we can. So we had guys that were role players, guys that saw a lot of time, you know, that were returning. But we went in the spring with 40 players, so it was just seeing, you know, who that was remaining was going to be able to step up into leadership roles. You know, productivity on the field, leadership off the field, sort of carrying the reins for those guys that had been the leaders in workouts and meetings, and we were able to see that. Replacing a quarterback and finding a guy like Chase Barrett that can step in and do a lot of the same things that Shawnee did, and some things he may do it a little bit better, but then also instilling that confidence and the amount of accountability that it takes to lead an offense the way that he does. So that was one of the things we were looking for. We lost 3 of our 4 defensive linemen, and the 4th one we moved to linebacker. So we were looking for 4 new bodies. I take that back. We were looking for 3 of the 4 because we returned DJ Pouncey, who's been he'll end up starting in more games than anybody in CCC history. So being able to find the guys that are, you know, can play around him, and then we need depth up there. And then on the offensive line, we lost a couple really good players, and just being able to fill those guys up with some, you know, ones to give them some confidence, the new guys, and then just build some depth that way. You know, in the spring is always interesting because we go through the season with 60, 65 guys in our program. That's a JV and varsity team. Mm-hmm. But we try to stay 2 platoon. In the spring, we didn't have that luxury. We played with 5 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, and we only had 7 bodies. So we had some guys that were going on both sides of the ball. We saw a lot of toughness from those guys. We saw where they will probably be able to fit for us moving forward. But then we also saw that we may have lost 17 seniors, but we still have a ton of playmaking ability, a ton of speed, a ton of experience, and you know, this summer we'll see what type of leadership we have to be able to lead the rest of the guys.
Are there any other positions or battles or key roles that you're watching closely, you know, before the season starts?
You know, I think that's one of the things that we sort of pride ourselves on is, you know, every position we want to create a battle. Now, let's just be honest, it's high school football. You don't have enough people to really, there's not going to be a competition at every position, but you have to have people that can push each other. Your right tackle may push your left tackle to get better. You know, your 3 technique may be able to, you know, push your offensive guard to get better. And I think that's sort of what we're looking for. We're looking for that, you know, if we can get better in some places, as we've had to replace from dogs. You know, we replaced a kid named Keo Jenkins that was a heck of a defensive lineman for us, scored 20-some touchdowns from our jumbo package of short yardage stuff. I mean, he's going to be a big productivity replacement, but at the same time, he was also a guy that had an edge to him. So we're looking for a guy that can step in and have that physical edge that Keo left behind.
Take us through what a typical summer workout, summer training is like here at CCC.
Well, we, like I said, we're a year-round program. We start the first Monday. We're back in school in January. We did our winter program. I can't talk about our summer program without leading up with how we handle things in the winter, because I think that's what we're in the winter is about, building the leadership that's going to help us get through the summer. Because the summer is no joke here. I mean, it's, you know, I sort of used to tell myself and tell everybody we run this just like a college program. There's no way that we can run a high school program just like a college program. We don't have the means, the bodies, the time.
Coach, you do an excellent job.
But we run it as close to it as we can. So we, you know, our kids are here for weigh-ins every morning at 8 o'clock. I think that, you know, teaching kids that how you do things is more important than what you do. I think that's sort of the staple of our program. You know, I mean, our offense hasn't changed much. Our defense hasn't changed much. Our special teams hasn't changed much as far as what we do. But the impressive thing is our kids have always bought into the expectation of how we do things. And so our summer program is no different. I mean, be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it. I mean, when we're preaching those things with summer workouts, it's the same thing we preach in Fridays in the fall. So we're here. We do a good job. We bring in Yo Murphy out of Tampa, comes in twice a week as a speed trainer and works with us because, you know, I found out a couple years ago that there's not much that Yo and his guys are saying that we don't say, but sometimes our guys get sick of hearing us. So bringing in a guy that trains NFL players and has a name for himself, our guys are locked in and focused for 2 days a week. But then, we come in, we get a big warm up, we get a good team lift. I used to split our guys just because I wanted to get more one-on-one coaching in the weight room, but I think our guys push each other, staying together in the weight room. So we got 50 guys in the weight room. We have 50 guys at every workout, which we're a program that only has 60 kids in it. I can tell you this, that if a kid isn't here for a workout, he's accounted for. He's on vacation, he's at a camp. Our kids communicate well. That's one of the things that we try to drive home before they leave here. In any workout, we go Monday through Thursday, 8 to 11, and we've got conditioning, we've got lifting, we've got individual work, we've got install. I mean, by the time we start practice in August, we're good to go offensively and defensively. And I think that's an advantage we have because of all of the participation and attendance and accountability we have in our summer programs.
Are some of your leaders on the team that
I think that, offensively, like we talked about, when you're replacing a guy like Shawnee, the guy that's going to replace him, you sort of need him to be that leader. And Chase has done a good job. We've got another young quarterback in Sean Hickey that, he can bring a lot of things to the table. But I wouldn't say, I think that quarterback position needs to be a leader for us, and they've both done a good job. Chase sort of been at the forefront of that. We run the football here, so there better be somebody up front that is your leader. And we've got a kid named DeJuan Davis who, he's a mountain of a man. I mean, DeJuan's 6'8", 390 pounds, and he's played a lot of football. Him and DJ Pouncey have probably, like I said, they'll both end up starting more games. We've got a lot of young talent on the offensive line, and they sort of look for DeJuan to be that leader, and we need him for that. He hasn't been asked to do that up to this point because he's always had older guys around him. Now it's his time to shine. And when you look at us, I mean, he makes our big linemen look small. So I think he's a guy that, people know about. It's hard not to know about DeJuan, but I'm sort of excited to see him play. We got a tight end that we played wide receiver for us, Brody Church, that we moved into tight end just because his skill set. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, runs well. He's very similar to a kid named Brett Seither that we sent to Georgia. They graduated here in 2019. A little bit of maybe even a better blocking tight end than what Brett was, and Brett with the Georgia tight end U. So, I mean, it was, if we think he has some great promise. We've got, I think our receiving core this year is very similar to the one that we had 2 years ago. We've got, Luke Wilson, we've got Davion Bellon, we've got Davion Jackson, we've got Malik Newton. I mean, we've got a plethora of guys that Chase and our quarterbacks are going to be able to use. But like I said before, we run the football. We've got a kid named Davion Epps that returns from last year. He'll be a sophomore. And we had a kid named Corey Sims and Peyton Sims, the brothers that transferred in from Mitchell High School. And, we do what we do. I think that we'll be put into situations where we'll want to throw the ball. I don't ever think my goal as a coach and as an offense is to never be where you have to be able to throw the ball. I want to be able to want to throw the ball and still have the tools to be able to do it. Defensively, I think our defense runs around Tyreek Harris, who he'll end up being the all-time leading sack guy here. We moved him from edge outside linebacker to will linebacker, and the guy just runs and hits everything. I mean, I think he could possibly be the best box linebacker that we've ever had, and this is going to be the only year that he actually plays there. There'll be some times, I think, for him, he'll play at box linebacker, he'll play at outside linebacker, he'll play some defensive end. We've got some different things that we're going to do with him that we're excited about. We replace both safeties from a year ago. Duke Rich and Jesse Wilkins have both graduated and moving on. So we've got 3 or 4 guys, Harrell Clyde. Tyree Jones is going to be a senior, and he's played a lot of football for us. We're looking to replace an outside linebacker that we lost to his family moved. Our 2 corners, Papa Wilson and Josiah Smith, are back for their senior years, and they've got some depth behind them with some young guys. I know you asked me for, some 1 or 2 guys, but the exciting part about it is to the outside looking in, the glass is half full, or half empty, I should say.
Okay.
But, to me, with what I see every day, and especially now with some of the new faces, the glass is overflowing. It's going to be our job as coaches to make sure that we take all of these playmakers and talent we have and make sure that we use them to the best of our ability. And that's what makes it fun. I mean, when I first took over here, our numbers weren't great, and we milked everything we could out of every player we had, and those kids were amazing. but we just have so much more depth now. I mean, our program and our players have done a great job. Everybody talks about, what makes people come. Our kids are why people want to come here. Their kids, their success, the way that they are willing to work. And so now we're able to take that next step. And like I said, you can't replace those guys we lost. But we've already started to try, and I'm excited about what the future may hold.
Your must-see games are games that you're saying that's going to be really important. What do you see looking at your schedule will be on that list? Must-see or your big games?
I think that there's a trend in our schedule over the years as every year it gets tougher. When you had the success that we've had, we can't get a lot of teams in the area to play us. I mean, Clearwater plays us every year. Bogey's played us last year and this year. We have some district games. I think it's one of those deals. I really do believe that iron sharpens iron, and if you want to be the best, you got to play the best. And right now we're the best. I don't mean that in any kind of overly confident way, and so we have to travel and put ourselves in situations. Yep. So we play a kickoff classic against Armwood, which is a big test for us. I mean, we're just a single A small school, but for anybody that knows football, we're not your typical 1A football program. And Armwood, they do a great job with it. Coach Davis has done a great job with those guys over there. The historical program, they got players that are going to play on Saturdays, so it's a good start for us. And then we open up every year against Berkeley, the first game of the year, with who I think is probably one of the best coaches in the history of Tampa Bay, and Dom Sion, and he does a great job. And so if we had to point out specific games, or like, hey, you got to see this one. I mean, we get to play. We go to Sebring, a travel game. Tampa Catholic, Coach Gregory is doing a good job of rebuilding that. That's become one of our big rivalry games. Clearwater's done a great job. Thor over there. We travel to Venice this year, which is always a fun trip. You know what I mean? Anytime you can get to go play there, I think that's one of the better high school jobs in the state of Florida. It's a great atmosphere from what I'm told. We host 2 home games here this year. We have 5 games, but 2 of the bigger ones we play. Cardinal Mooney, we haven't played Cardinal Mooney since the COVID year. They beat us in the playoffs, and we haven't been able to find ourselves on the same field since then. And they've got a real good thing going. They won a state championship 2 years ago. They got beat in the state semifinals last year, so they've got a good program. So they come here, and we host Gadsden County, who played in the state championship last year. Coach Ellington has done a great job there. So we've got about a 4 or 5 game run that where it's not just great area teams, it's great programs throughout the state. Nationally recognized programs, and we lost 3 games last year. We lost 3 games to 3 teams who all finished in the top 15 in the country. Mm-hmm. So I really do believe sometimes our coaches, joke about it. My wife will get on to me sometimes about, why do you schedules? My daughter was a senior last year, homecoming queen. We played St. Francis out of Maryland, and they beat us up pretty bad. But to me, I mean, our goal has stayed the same and will stay the same. We want to win the last one. In my mind, I've been here. This is my 10th season. We've won 92 games in 9 years. But to me, as a coach, I haven't been able to provide our kids with the ultimate experience of winning the last one. And in order for us to win the last one, we got to put ourselves in positions during the season to play teams that are going to prepare us for that moment. I think that the schedule that we played last year, playing St. Francis, playing Venice, coming down to where we're tackled at the 2-yard line as time expires and get beat by Venice, those opportunities and those experiences are what put us in the position to where in the state semifinal game, when our quarterback goes down and Chase has to take over, our team just sort of rallied around whatever we needed to do, win the game in overtime to create the opportunity to play in the third state championship. I think that, so our schedule, if you're going to pick one game, there's a bunch to pick from.
Okay. It sounds like an extremely tough schedule, but will do you some good in the long run.
Yeah.
What to you and your team would you consider a successful season? When you look back at the end of this year, what would you say the season was a success to us? What would you need to do?
Win. I mean, I think that, our ultimate goal, football is a process. A season is a process. If you sit here and say, well, everybody wants to win a state championship. Well, we got to put ourselves in a position to be able to compete for a state championship. And that starts with, what we're doing now. It starts with fall camp. It starts in 3 weeks. It starts with those 10 regular season games. But our goal is to get to the state championship. And just to be as biased, and this can be bulletin board material forever, I don't want anybody else to be there except for Chaminade. I don't think that, there's been talks about this whole, let's create a system that creates a balance of power in the state, or competitive equals, or that's bull. I mean, it's their school is the same size as ours. Their kids work hard. They've earned 9 state championships, and our kids have earned the right to play them. Now we just got to find whatever it is that makes a difference for us to be able to earn the right to beat them. I don't want to beat anybody else for a state championship. I don't want somebody else to beat Chaminade and us to have to beat something. I want for that game on that stage to be those 2 teams, and I truly believe that if even with the loss of personnel that we've had, the guys in our locker room, the guys that are going through right now, are more than able, more than capable to be able to help us take that next step. And there's nothing that I would want to do in spite of a lot of the naysayers and doubters in the area, which that's what happens when you're successful, is, sometimes our guys and our coaches they get frustrated because, people are always, they're attacking how we do things. But to me, that's a compliment. I mean, every day I wake up and I hear people complain about us and how we do things and talk about our kids and talk about our coaches. That just means we're doing something right. You know what I mean? And right now, the biggest thing is, hey, we can't win the big one. Well, get there occasionally, and then you can talk about us not winning the big one. But our goal right now is to make sure that we work every day to position ourselves to, whenever we get that opportunity again, that we can take full advantage of it.
Well, Coach, I've been watching from afar and up close, and I know that you're doing an excellent job, and I know that you'll be the first coach in Pinellas County to bring home a state title back here to Pinellas County. So we're going to be looking for you this year. And any last words that you want to say? Or
I appreciate you doing this. I think it's, anytime anybody gives attention to Pinellas County, I think that you said it, for no high school football team to have ever won a state championship in this county, I think that's something that needs to change. I've said this from the get-go. When it happens, it'll be us, and I hope we're the first of many. There's too many talented kids, in our program, and then in all the other programs. There's too many coaches that have worked hard to be able to put themselves in a position, and it's going to happen. I agree with you. It's going to happen here first, and hopefully many times. But then, I think that, the more attention we can pay to that, and then to Pinellas County sports and youth, the better off we'll be.
Well, Coach, you are a class act. Your program is first class. And, Coach, I wish you all the best this 2025 season. And let's bring home a state championship.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty.